Hello, and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I'm Sam,
I'm Matt.
and today, up for review is
Stranger Things, episode 4.
entitled The Body. Entitled such because if you can remember last episode, they dredged Will Byers' body from the quarry. So that was the cliffhanger, no pun intended. So, this this is an interesting episode because if you split the episode into two halves, the kind of start of the episode is everyone dealing with the fact that, you know what, this body's been dredged up. But the kind of other half takes a enlightening term, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So it starts off with kind of Mike all nang about the fact that his friend's dead and apparently Elle was lying. Now the problem with that is that Elle can't really articulate herself due to the fact that she knows very, very limited English. So she can yes, she can no. She's kind of picking it up really. She's picking it up quite fast, but she
Yeah, it's
can't.
improving. I think she said the most she's ever said in this episode. Or was the last one? I think it was this one, but she still doesn't know enough to express what she knows fully, which seems to be quite a bit, even if she herself doesn't fully understand it.
So I think what's interesting, I think they're kind of building towards something with her and Mike as well. I think there's a bit of, you know what I mean?
Really? And they're kids, though?
Yeah, but it's like, don't you?
Not really.
He obviously likes her because there's like, oh, you look pretty.
Yeah, but what can they really build
Good.
to with children?
I don't know, but that's kind of the age, isn't it?
No. And they're like 11?
No, but you can have crushes and stuff. Like you didn't have a crush when you were 11.
Well, yeah, but it didn't really mean anything, did it?
Yeah, I know, but I'm just I mean, if they're gonna bring it up, you'd like expect, wouldn't you? Because he has kind of been on it, if you know what I mean.
No.
Trust is definitely is shown as interest. We'll see what happens. So I know that upsets you. So we'll move
Oh,
on
well.
to other things. So an issue I'd have is like at the start of the episode, the mum's at home. She storms out all dramatically, like something amazing's gonna happen, and then she kind of ends up dashing into the shed to pick up an axe, and then she sits on the sofa catatonic holding the axe, and it's like, if you look at it, it's kind of foreshadowing, but it's like, why wouldn't she be smart like the kid, go into the shed and pick up the gun and get ready to pop the thing? Because then she ain't gonna get close. Is she really gonna like? There's a weird monster coming out the walls, so I'm gonna go melee. I'm gonna run up to it. I'm gonna get as close as possible so I can axe it, as opposed to, I don't know what the hell this thing is. It's creepy as I'm gonna pick up my rifle, and when it comes through the door, I'm gonna be blasting.
Yeah, but I think you can give her some leeway. She's not thinking straight, and I think that's justified. And like you said, it's kind of foreshadowing for what she does with the axe later on, so I think it's fair enough.
Which is also ridiculous. But I mean,
That's awesome.
I like the portrayal that she is. I mean, a woman on the edge, if you know what I mean, because she's kind of, you got to look at it as she's like delusional. You know what I mean? For all intents and purposes, I mean, the kid's body's just been dredged up. She isn't processing it. She's like, oh, because of these weird things that have been going on, I full on believe that it's still alive. Even though no one else has seen it, no one else believes. So she is
Right, she's right,
full on delusional.
she's not delusional. She's correct, but you would understand why everyone else thinks she is.
hmm
She would definitely appear that way, and I'm no expert on these things, but I think you hear stories this a lot, with parents in denial and grief about their kids being gone. You could even tie the sheriff into that, who won't admit that his daughter's died and keeps saying, she's lost or gone, which maybe she is. Maybe they'll bring that in later, but there is kind of a running theme there.
Yeah. So we kind of the mum Joyce and Jonathan had a confrontation in the street. He wants to kind of his set in his ways that you want to know what, mom, you are mentally ill. You know what I mean? You're seeing things, you're hearing things, you're experiencing things no one else has experienced. Kid's dead. As hard as it is for me as the older brother, I've got to keep things together, you know what I mean? I've got to stand up like a man and be like, Mom, he's dead. We need to deal with the funeral. And then she obviously, she can't handle it. It's a little too
Right,
much for her.
and I will say for the brother as well, even though he's wrong, for a guy that's been melting all over the place for most of this show, he did finally step up and try and act like a grown up and do something proper, even if he finds out later in the episode he's wrong. I mean, from his perspective, it's the right thing to do, and he's actually doing it for once. So,
Well, you say that, finds out that he's wrong, but, I mean, if you go along his arc, all he really knows is that, because obviously he hooks up with Nancy, not as in hook up as in pork, but I mean they hang out. She puts the pieces of the picture together and realises there's something a little. I mean, to be honest, I didn't see it. I'm staring at this picture and I'm just seeing like nothing, but apparently they can see like the monster that the mum described. So they're in there, they're getting it, they're enhancing the picture, they're blowing it up, and they're looking at it, and then they're like, "Oh, there's a monster there." So now he's sitting there thinking, right, there is a monster. Turns out to be exactly how my mum described it. So from that perspective, how kind of what does that mean? Okay, there's
well,
actually a monster, but does that change the fact that my brother's still dead? Does he think, right, the monster's real? That means she's definitely been talking to Will. That means he's not dead. For all they kind of know, for all he could know, you'd think, he's communicating from beyond the grave, but kind of nothing more than that.
I would guess that he knows, or he thinks his mum's correct now. That in seeing that there's a monster, and that in tying it all together with what his mum's saying, he thinks probably the kid's still alive. But basically, it's still, she's the only one that knows it for well, no, that's not true. Basically, what's happened, we've got to a point now, midway in the show, most of our protagonists know something, but they don't all know everything. They all need to piece together what they know.
Yeah.
So the boys know about 11 and Mike.
And they've heard the conversation because they tapped in with the ham radio at school, and they heard the conversation between Will and his mum. So, right. but still, like, the good thing is that she's actually seen him. Because I mean, if it's all like still like voice communications, you could pin it down to she's talking to him from beyond the grave, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm scared, it's dark, it's scary. It's like, mate, you're dead. You need to, like, pass on, you know what I mean? But now she's actually, because you get the wall opens up, and then you see him, like, in a kind of, like, pretty much an amniotic sac kind of thing, like the walls, like, fleshy and stuff, and then you actually see his face. So she knows that he's actually alive, whereas all the other ones, I mean, you could pin it down to communicating from the dead, stuff like that. So, I mean, what's good as well, because as you said, they're kind of all piecing it together. Now, for sure, it's confirmed to the sheriff that there's like a wider conspiracy going on, because he finds out that like other people come along and did the autopsy, which I think is interesting, that they did the autopsy, and when he pulled the body out of the freezer, there was like no marks on him, you know what I mean? Normally with like an autopsy, even with like kids and that, they still like cut them open, and then you got like the Y scar on their torso or whatever, from
Right.
where they pinned back the skin and looked at all the organs. So I mean, the fact that it didn't have that would have been enough to be like, aye, something's going on here.
Sloppy work, really, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously. So I mean, before he finds the body, he confronts the guy as like, yo, what's going on? Pins him outside, roughs him up, gets the old bloody knuckles and that, because you'll find in most TV shows this is a good attention to detail. When they smack them up and that, their hands are fine, but at least on that he had the kind of blooded up knuckles.
Right, but it's something that we're going to have to wait to see where it goes, but I might be critical of. If he can just do that and nothing comes of it, it's basically just punching another cop in the face.
Yeah, to get into the morgue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's kind of, if that person's there is actually to do with their police force, or whether it's like an upstate thing, because it didn't seem, because like, I figure if he worked with them, because it's not someone I've seen at the police station, they're kind of all pally and chummy together, aren't they? So I think that it's like someone else, like posted there from the agency, because the way they were talking implied that they kind of don't really know each other. So it's like an unknown guy.
True,
So,
but it might, but even if he is part of the government agency, whatever it is, you can't just walk up to someone and smack him in the face, surely.
yeah, but if he pulls apart the conspiracy, that'll be like the
Yes,
not explained.
if he's one of the villains, yeah, it's been explained the way they can get away with it. But if he's just some random cop who's been put there on guard.
Yeah, because they're all kind of coming off crazy, you know what I mean? You got him going around smacking people in the face. It's like, because at the end of the episode, he's like got his wire cutters and is going into laboratory. So I mean, if they do the kind of obvious thing and like he gets into the lab and it's all like spick and span and that, it's like he's going around smacking people up and breaking into places, and then it turns out it's all like been cleaned and that, and like nothing's going on. It is going to come off crazy as well. So he's going to come off crazy, the mum's going to be coming off crazy, and then you got to get the kids are kind of in a position that because they're involved around 11, they can't really do anything. Their hands are tied, really. They can't tell any of the parents, they can't really tell anyone, so they're kind of stuck keeping what they know to themselves.
I'm not sure they want to. I think the only adult they probably talk to is their teacher. Now, I don't think they're going to tell him anything specifically, but he is a science teacher, so they're probably going to speak to him about alternate dimensions or something, which is where I'm leaning for what's going on now.
I think what would have been good is if the teacher went in with them to the AV room, they got all the ham radio all set up, they communicated, and he was there when they were all like, so he knows that Will's alive as well. That I mean, if you're going to bring him in, the best way they could have done it is if they had him in the room with them as well, as opposed to them having to explain. Now, is this teacher really just going to be like, okay, I believe you, or is he going to be like, look guys, you're grieving, this is crazy talk?
Yeah, like I say, I don't think they're going to directly say we think Will is alive. Yeah, they might do, we'll have to wait and see, but I think they'll just talk to him about alternate dimensions as like an interest thing, isn't it? That we want to know about the science of it, and then he'll tell them.
Yeah, because I mean, if we flash to the lab as well, you had like, because in last episode it turns out the thing they were screwing to the wall was a winch, and they went into the kind of black mass on the wall, and it turns out to be like a hole somewhere, and like you got him. My favourite character of the episode has to be the technician who was like, you see the wire swinging around, you got my man screaming like a lunatic from beyond the void, and like it's like, yeah, come in. It's like, mate, that wire's been slashing around for the past 5 minutes, your boy ain't coming back. What I thought was good as well is when they actually pulled the thing back and it was like dragging, you had the blood kind of thing. Normally with stuff like that it drags along the floor and there's nothing there, but at least it kind of had a cool little like blood trail after it. I was really impressed by that. It wasn't really up to much, but I really found it impressive.
It wasn't a question on that. I know you were saying about the brother and the sister with the picture in that scene. Maybe it's just me, so correct me, but do we ever really get a good view of what the monster is, or are they obscuring it?
No, you don't really get. That's what I mean, because that's what I said earlier. Now you don't actually. It just looks like a kind of white on black, really, but it's kind of like all like bubbled up, and that you can't actually see anything clearly. But I think is like, because when the monster came through the wall last episode, the kind of skinless thing, you kind of had a bit of a view there, but all you saw was like the long arm and stuff and like the fingers. But I mean, you've got to imagine it's like humanoid, but like pretty much a scarred tissue humanoid, you know what I mean, kind of purple looking, fleshy looking with no face. So
Yeah.
that is the monster.
I guess they'll probably save it for finale. You know, do the old alien thing where you don't, or Jaws, where you don't see the monster much until the end.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed because if you can remember in the first episode review where I was saying what my idea of the monster was, like some weird like octopus tendrils or Ouroboros kind of thing, and then it turns out to be some scar tissue monster. So that's
Well,
pretty disappointing. I figure
wait
that's
until you
like,
see it.
maybe there would be more, because I mean for it just to be one thing.
But yeah,
But
time will tell. I think my favourite character was probably the mum, Winona Ryder. I love the scene where she hacked the hole in her house. I thought it was pretty cool.
yeah, it was like, how's she gonna deal with that now? I mean that house is pretty run down. Now you got a hole in the wall. I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, if you go to the end of the episode, you had the ex-husband come back to kind of comfort. Even though I figure he's just going to be so useless, and that you could tell by how he kind of pops up in like the other episodes that he is literally going to be worse than useless.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the comforting sort. I'm glad they've got him there, though. I think it was always going to happen. I'd rather just get over it. Deal what they're going to do with the character and then wrap it up.
I'm interested what his reaction's going to be, because she's going to be telling him all this stuff, and then I'd assume the other son's going to roll up and be like, yeah, mum, you were right, and then he's just going to be like, yo, what's going on? Let's slow this down for a second. What are you trying to tell me? And then you're going to have probably Nancy come with and be like, yeah, it's all true, and then he's going to be like, who is this girl? What's going on? So that's going to be a massive, like, he's just going to be standing there like, yeah, I'm going back to city. You know what I mean? I'll leave you guys to it. Is there a funeral? Is there not? So yeah, let's move on to, let's talk figures. And I ain't talking Winona Riders before you get excited.
I'm going to give it an 8. I thought it was a good time. We're at the halfway point now. I think let's move it along swiftly. I like that everyone knows something now.
Yes.
You haven't got any characters sat behind look like an idiot.
Yeah.
So I'm just
everyone's relevant in their own ways. So I mean, there's 4 episodes left. The next 3 episodes are pretty much probably going to be them building on what they know, and then eventually all getting together and
everyone's
solving the
relevant
mystery.
except for that boyfriend, who, by the way, now I'm sick of. Time for him to go.
Yeah, it's kind of they've done it well in the sense that he knows nothing is irrelevant now, so he's just going to be like unimportant, which is good. It's kind of phasing him out a bit. So I mean, I'd give it an 8.5. I think it's like solid. I'm just waiting for that. The next few episodes, I figure everything's going to be moving, but it's like, I'll say everything will be moving quickly now to the finale, but it's like, when I say moving quickly, what else is going to pop up? You know what I mean? What's the sheriff going to find when he actually gets into the lab? What kind of is it? Is it just going to be everyone's going to convene onto like the buyer's house with the woman and sit down, like sitting rocking in their chairs, waiting for some lights to go off for them to be like, oh, what's happening? You know what I mean? Because I think the mum's kind of dependent on Will now to kind of send messages, because they don't know how to get to him, they don't know where he is, so literally for them to do anything they're pretty much going to be dependent on Will to say something or 11 to say something. But I mean, that splits it anyway, because the 3 kids are with 11, and then you've got like the sheriff, the mum, the brother, Nancy, all on the other side, so kind of 4 on 4.
Right, yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say as well. It's interesting to know where the kids certainly come in, because you can see the others linking up. The sheriff is already with the mother and the brother.
I think the link to it really is like, it's interesting because in the earlier reviews we were saying how like the Nancy relationship and that, but I think the link to the kids and everyone else is literally Nancy now, because Nancy's gonna be like gonna talk to Mike, her brother, and Mike's gonna be like, "Yo, Nancy, like we got this girl with us. Will's still alive," and she'll be like, "Yeah, I think I know what took him because we've seen this monster thing," and like
Yeah,
then
that's a good point. That's a good point, actually. I remember in the first episode, my man, the cool kid, who I like, I forget his name.
Dustin.
Right, he was talking about the sister, right, and how she used to be nice, she used to hang out with him,
Yeah,
and so I guess that's going to be the link. They're going to pull that back in.
yeah. So that pretty much that's the speculation. That ties up this review. Like, share, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next episode. I have in fact been Sam.
I'll Matt.